sit here and look at it. I think we smile for
Halt. Cross the colors.
To welcome everyone to the November 12th Mayor and Council meeting. And I would like for the Boy Scout troop to please come up to the microphone, introduce yourselves, and then afterwards we would love to have a picture with you. So who would like to go first?
Hello, I'm Thomas Merritt, and I'm from Troop 1134, and I go to River Ridge High School.
Hello, my name is Jacob Ludwig. I'm with Troop 1134, and I go to Mabry Middle School.
Hello, my name is Corbin Curlis. I'm from Troop 1134, and I go to Crabapple Middle School.
I'm Ezra Sanafong, and I go to St. John Bosco Academy.
I'm Michael Modern, and I'm in Troop 1134 to River Ridge High School.
My name is Anthony Delgaze. I also go to River Ridge High School. My name is Jake Young. I'm in Troop 1134, and I go to Centennial High School.
Hello, my name is Isaac Isaiah, and I go to Haven Middle School.
Hello, my name is Pablo Ochoa, and I go to St. John Bosco Academy.
Hello, my name is Joseph Drizaldi, and I go to St. John Bosco Academy.
Hello, my name is Michael Delgaze, and I go to Mill Creek Middle School.
Hello, my name is Drew Robertson, and I go to Blessed Trinity. Hello, my name is Paul Cotter and I go to Queen of Angels.
Hello, my name is Lasse Peachin and I'm going to Roswell High.
Hello, my name is Sam Grant and I go to Mill Creek Middle School.
My name is Brendan Groover, and I go to Elkins Point Middle School.
My name is Justin Jern, and I'm homeschooled.
My name is Kevin Brandon and I go to Core Community School.
My name is James Griffin and I go to Queen of Angels.
Let's give Troop 1134 a round of applause. Thank you, gentlemen, for your dedication to scouting, and we would love to have a picture with you. Councilmember Wilson. The next item we've got on the agenda is a consent agenda, and it has been requested that item number 3, approval for the mayor and or city administrator to sign a contract for the Roswell River Recreation Concession Services with Nantahala, be removed. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of number 3?
I move to approve the consent agenda with the elimination of number 3.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Tizer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. I would like to let the audience know that item number 3 will not be read this evening. This is for discussion at a later time, so it will come back to this body when we are ready to see it. The next item on the agenda is the proclamation in celebration of Children of American Revolution, CAR, Kids Helping Kids Day. Whereas the National Society of the Children of the American Revolution, NSCAR, is the nation's oldest and largest patriotic youth organization, founded April 5th, 1895, November 20th is also the celebration of Universal Children's Day. And whereas the NSCAR focuses on patriotism, service, and education about our American heritage. And whereas the Martha Stewart Bullock Society, NSCAR, is active in our local community promoting this vision to the residents of our city and surrounding community. And whereas the Martha Stewart Bullock Society, NSCAR, is dedicated to helping the youth in our community through the Kids Helping Kids Program Committee. And whereas the City of Roswell strongly supports the ideals and objectives of the NSCAR and the Martha Stewart Bullock Society, NSCAR. Now therefore, I, Lori Henry, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim November 20th, 2019 as CAR Kids Helping Kids Day in the city of Roswell, and I call upon our citizens to celebrate by helping the youth in our community through the Kids Helping Kids program. And do we have anyone here this evening that would like to come forward and speak? Please do.
Hello, I'm Graham Hills from Roswell High School, and I'm part of the Martha Stewart Bullock Society. We just want to say that we're so thankful to be here, and that we love that kids are helping each other around the Roswell. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your leadership in this program. And I would like to invite you all up for a picture as well, please. The next item on the agenda is reading of a proclamation for Veterans Day. Whereas in 1921, the unknown soldier was buried on a Virginia hillside in Arlington National Cemetery overlooking the Potomac River in the city of Washington, D.C. The site of this burial in Arlington National Cemetery symbolizes the dignity and reverence of America's veterans. And whereas these memorial gestures took place in England and France on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrated ending of World War I at 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918. And whereas on May 13th, 1938, Congress declared that the 11th day of November each year will be a legal holiday, a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace, and a day of celebration to honor Americans' veterans for their patriotism, the love of our country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. And whereas Veterans Day is a day to thank our veterans for their service to our country and acknowledge their contributions to our national security, we would like to honor those who have served and sacrificed for our country today, November 11th, and every day. And whereas the city of Roswell is proud to acknowledge our veterans who are employed by the city, now therefore I, Lori Henry, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim November 11th as Veterans Day in the City of Roswell and urge all citizens to recognize the sacrifices and dedication of our veterans today and throughout the year. And what I would like to ask is any city employee that is a veteran, would you mind standing? Are there any other veterans in the room that we can recognize this evening? Well, thank you all very much. Thank you all very much for your service. And I would also like to point out that we've got all of these wonderful employees that are listed on this proclamation, and these are all veterans of the United States. So we thank them on a daily basis. Not only are they serving our community, in a very, very honorable way, but they have also served and represent our country, and we do thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is the recognition of Fire Department employee Jamie Lavelle. Please come forward, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have with me today Battalion Chief Charlie Vaca, who's actually our Fire Marshal for the city of Roswell, standing beside me. I'm here to talk about a couple of our superstars in the fire department. The first one I want to talk about is Jamie Lavelle. She's our Assistant Fire Marshal. She is absolutely an extraordinary employee that goes above and beyond every time to get the job done. She first came to us and went to work as one of our firefighters in the suppression division of the fire department, and then she was hired in the fire marshal's office. The reason she's here tonight is because she has been named Georgia State Representative of the International Women in the Fire Service. She was chosen after an extensive search throughout the state for the best candidate for this position, and I can tell you they made a wise choice. This organization provides education, support, and advocates for women in the fire service. I'd like to introduce to you Assistant Fire Marshal Jamie Lavelle.
And Chief, we'll go on to the next recognition, and then afterwards we would love to have pictures with both of them. So
absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Thank you for introducing them.
The next one is Joseph Kalman. We call him Joe. Let me tell you just a little bit that you may not know about the fire department. We have one of our divisions within the fire department is actually a police department, which Chief Vaca is actually the police chief. So we have this because of our fire investigations that we do. They have arrest powers just like they're mandated, just like any police officer is in the state of Georgia. They have to keep up the same training requirements. So that's probably something you may not have been aware of. But all of our investigators are mandated police officers. Joe's been with us a short time, but has made such a tremendous impact for us here, and we're glad to have him with us. He just completed his post-training, his police officer training, which was with 24 other students. Out of that 24 students, there were 2 firefighters within the class. I want to tell you that just to accomplish that, it's 408 hours of training. Just to accomplish that is something to speak of. But what I'm here to tell you about tonight is that not only did he finish, but he finished with honors. He graduated with honors. He was recognized as a top student and awarded the academic award with a final average grade of 94.95%. He was awarded a scholarship also to Reinhardt College. And I would like to introduce you to Assistant Fire Marshal Joe Kalman. And Jamie, if you come back out, Joe, you can come up back. Y'all stay up here real quick. Before we have a picture, I want to just say to you is, as a fire chief, I take great pride in this department. I've been here for 33 years. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, the 2 I just introduced to you is the future of the Roswell Fire Department, and it looks good. It looks good. So if we could now, Mayor, if we'd have a picture, will you please?
And I'm going to slip something in on the agenda this evening that's another good news story that has to do with our police department. On May 27th, a Robert Voris from Mac McGee's Irish Pub and Eatery sent this letter to the mayor's office. Mayor Henry, I'm writing to share a recent experience my company had with the Roswell Police Department on September 18th. Our business was unfortunately the victim of an active shooter 911 hoax call, resulting in a SWAT response from the department. There were two important outcomes of this event that any mayor or resident of Roswell should be aware of occurring. First, the response. Although we do not know the exact time of the hoax call, it is our understanding the officers were on the scene within minutes. Imagine the concern of customers and employees to witness the response team entering the building, especially in the times that we find ourselves. The officers cleared the building, informed the staff of the situation, and importantly, made them feel secure. Secondly, the follow-up. On September 19th, while setting up for Alive in Roswell, I walked through the restaurant and saw 3 uniformed officers on the main floor. Considering the events of the previous evening, this was an immediate concern, and my initial thought was, not again. To my surprise, one of the 3 officers was Chief Conroy. With all the responsibilities the department manages on the day of Alive in Roswell, the chief and 2 additional officers took the time to check on our staff. It is difficult to describe how small gestures provide such a positive impact to the employees. Seems like we only hear feedback when it's critical, so I wanted to take this opportunity to share a positive experience. There are some very good people working for the city, and it is greatly appreciated. Sincerely, Robert Voss. And Chief, if you'd stand, and let's give the Chief a round of applause. Thank you so much. Okay, another positive note, we've got the approval of a resolution of the mayor and or city administrator authorizing closing on the acquisition of certain property on Holcomb Bridge Road, the MS Kaufman, as trustee of the HBR Trust property at a purchase price not to exceed $9,000 plus outstanding taxes and closing costs. Mr. Davidson.
Thank you, Mayor. As you are aware, the council on October 15th approved the contract for the purchase of this property. This resolution would authorize the mayor or city administrator, along with myself, on behalf of the city, to execute all the necessary documents to close on the property. It also allowed for the city administrator, finance department, and myself to pay outstanding Fulton County taxes, and allows for the dismissal of outstanding Roswell taxes, and would allow us to remove a current lien that the city has on the property also. And they've approved. The city attorney's office recommends approval.
Does council have any comments or questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward to speak? Seeing no one approach, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve item number 5.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Tizer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And of course, it passes unanimously. Another great day in the city of Roswell. And now to Community Development Department, Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. Item number 6, approval of rezoning RZ 2019-3685, located at 2500 Hospital Boulevard for racetrack. Ms. Dybel?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is rezoning 2019-3685, located at 2500 Hospital Boulevard. Here's an aerial view of the property. As you can see, the portion to be rezoned is outlined in red on the aerial map. The applicant has requested rezone a portion of 2500 Hospital Boulevard to increase the lot size of 11515 Alpharetta Highway, currently zoned CH, for the development of a racetrack gas station. So the request is rezoned from OP Office Park to CH Commercial Heavy. Here is the zoning map. The current portion in blue is the request to be rezoned from OP to CH. The property at 11515 is currently zoned Commercial Heavy. A gas station is allowed in CH without rezoning, so that is an allowed use by right today. The portion that's up for rezoning is the blue on the map, which is zoned OP Office Park. Here is the proposed site plan. The portion that is dotted towards your north is the portion of the property that is up for rezoning that is zoned OP. The rest of the property is zoned CH Commercial Heavy. Staff recommended approval with the following conditions. The driveway shall be limited to right in, right out, and left in movements only. Outbound left turns from the project onto Alpharetta Highway shall be restricted by channelized island driveway as approved by Roswell DOT. And if discussed, transportation has discussed that with the applicant, and that was discussed at Planning Commission. There could be some changes to that condition. A combination plat will be required prior to the issuance of an LDP, and that the owner-developer shall incorporate all conditions as indicated within the traffic study and site plan review required by Transportation Department. The Planning Commission also recommended approval with the staff conditions. Do you have any questions for staff?
Does council have any questions for staff? Yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a couple of questions. Number one, can you state here for the record the permitted uses of the current zone office park, please?
Within the code that has a P in the chart, permitted by right in Office Park, a hospice, college, university, conservation area, park recreation field up to 2 acres, reservoir, water supply, water well, all medical, all office, except listed below, call center, radio TV station recording studio, trade vocational business school, bed and breakfast up to 6 rooms, boutique hotel 7 to 30 rooms. All light manufacturing, all research and development, greenhouse, non-commercial, parking on site, solar panels, wind turbines, rainwater collection systems. Those are all the uses that have a P in the chart that are permitted by right.
Great, thank you. My second question will be, do you know how many gas stations already exist on the approximately 2.5 miles from this location? How many gas stations do we have already?
Within the 2-mile radius, we have 3 gas stations to the north, 1 to the east, and 1 to the south.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Additional questions from council? Yes, Councilmember Judy.
Just to clarify, we are looking at a separate piece of property. On the other piece of property, the larger piece of property, I guess 11515, is a gas station permitted as a use there?
That is currently zoned CH, and yes, a gas station is allowed by right there.
It's allowed by right there, so that would not have to come before council.
That is correct. A rezoning would not be required.
So what we're looking at is the piece above it for rezoning for the gas station, because that would need to come before council, obviously, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Additional questions for staff? Yes, Councilmember Zapata?
Thank you. Do we have any opinion from, since it's right next to the fire station, do we have any recommendation or any comments from the fire chief?
The fire chief is here. I'll let him answer that question.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As far as any comments or recommendations, I stand neutral on that. We met with them probably 3-4 months ago. We did talk about some concerns. If you want me to go into it, I'd be glad to. And they met every one of our concerns that we had at that time.
Additional comments, questions from council of staff? I'd like to hear from the applicant at this time.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Parks Huff for the law firm of Sams, Larkin, and Huff, and I represent Racetrack tonight in regards to this rezoning application. And as was mentioned by staff, the actual corner of Hembry and Alpharetta Highway is zoned heavy commercial, and that's a permitted use. What Racetrack proposes to do is also acquire an additional piece of property, 0.3 acres from Wellstar. Both these tracts are owned by Wellstar. And Wellstar very intentionally purchased those properties. Scott is here with Wellstar, can answer questions about that. And they wanted to have some say-so in who their neighbor was. They have 1,100 employees there, and they wanted to say so in that. And so they acquired these properties. It's a closed bank, and so vacant property to the north. And so what Racetrack proposes to do is to redevelop this corner. It's a signalized intersection of a very heavily traveled roads, and for a convenience store. And this gives you an idea of the current zonings in the area. And you can see the entire intersection going beyond our property is zoned heavy commercial. So it's consistent with your land use plan. It's consistent with the surrounding zonings. And there's no reason to treat this intersection any differently than the other intersections. Again, this gives you just a better view of it. And this line there gives you the division line going northwards. That's 0.3 acres that is being added to this tract. And one of the things that's very important, and I don't know that I can do a good job of showing it, but the current driveway at the bank comes in about right at the fourth pump island as you're going from the south to the north. That's the current driveway on Alpharetta Highway. One of the reasons for acquiring the property to the north is to be able to push our driveway further from the intersection. Everyone knows from a traffic perspective, you want your driveways further from the intersection, and that is the reason why, one of the reasons why we are acquiring more property, because at a signalized intersection with the traffic there, moving the access points further away from the intersection is always a positive thing. I think you're very familiar with who Racetrack is, but I just want to make sure you know, if you've gone to a Braves game, when you go around 285, you see their corporate headquarters there. You see their sign on top of the building. They're a local company, very proud of that. They're, I think, the third largest privately held company in the state of Georgia. One of the great things when you go to a Racetrack convenience store, when you walk in, you know that store is corporately owned and corporately run. They have between 15 and 20 employees in their stores. They're all corporate employees. They all get the same benefits that the corporate employees that are sitting over here get in terms of benefit packages, education opportunities, and things like that. Those are important things to think about when you look at these proposals. Again, this gives you just showing how what we're doing is expanding the site northwards, expanding the driveway access northwards to make it flow better and work better. This is just some renderings of the buildings. I know you're very familiar, or I hope you're familiar with the Holcomb Bridge store. It's a fairly new, one of their fairly new stores there, and I hope you're like that store. I will say that when we came before the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval, and I think that has not often happened, to have unanimity, but they were unanimous in their recommendation of approval. The two comments that they said, number one was, we really like your stores and we're glad you're coming to it. The other thing they mentioned was that there was a need in this area for convenience stores. And I do a lot of work for Racetrack, and I know that there's often a question from competitors about, oh, there's too many, and do we need another convenience store? Obviously, there's 2 points to that. Number one is, it's not normally government's role to pick and choose winners and losers in the commercial arena. That's the jobs of the businesses. But I'm familiar with driving this corridor, and one of the things that I found interesting after the comment from the Planning Commission when they unanimously recommended approval was I did a little research and looked at it, because I've been in this corridor where I've like, okay, I need gas, where do I go? And if you're driving northwards, there's a Shell all the way down on the right hand, I'm going to use right versus east on Alpharetta Highway, almost just north of Holcomb Bridge. And then as you travel northwards, there's not another convenience store gas station on the right-hand side of the road until you get to Alpharetta. And that's 3.3 miles of traveling that you don't have one on that side of the road. And they call them convenience stores for a reason. They're supposed to be convenient. You're supposed to be able to get into them conveniently. That's the reason why we wanted to move our driveway access northward, so it's more convenient. And you typically look for a convenience store or gas station that's on the right-hand side of the road to fill up. So there is a gap in this travel corridor where you really don't have, especially on the eastern side of Alpharetta Highway. And I don't need to tell you what's in that corridor. You've got one of your biggest employers in Wellstar. They've got 1,100 employees and patients and visitors just north of this site. You've got a significant amount of auto-related businesses in this corridor that bring a lot of people to this area. So when you look at that, you see that this 3.3 miles in this section is traveled on the right-hand side without another place to fuel, without another place for the convenience items that Racetrack is known for. The 3 points that I really wanted to just kind of drive home: your professional staff reviewed this application. They recommended approval of the application. Your Planning Commission looked at the application and recommended approval of the application. And as I said, they had two comments that I thought were very important, and that is, number one, that there was a need in this corridor for convenient fueling. And so I think those points are very valid when you look at this application. I understand that you've received some letters of concern from some competitors that are in the area, and certainly we respect that. But if you look at the convenience store that Racetrack has down at Holcomb Bridge, there's plenty of competitors that have remained in business around that store. So there's plenty of business on Alpharetta Highway. There's plenty of reason for competition. I will say the other thing is that a lot of the convenience stores along that stretch, they don't have a signalized intersection, and it's very important to be meaningfully located in an area that has that cross traffic, so you can get north, south, east, and west with one convenience store. So, I mean, I would say with your professional staff Planning Commission recommendation for approval, the fact that the other properties at this intersection are all zoned heavy commercial, that it's in compliance with your land use plan and the vision for what you propose there, that denying this application as it is, because really the only use for this property is commercial driveways now. So denying it would be unconstitutional. It would take my client's constitutional property rights away for no reason, because all we're doing is building a use that fits on a corner, that fits at this corner. It's already permitted at this corner, and we're making it better by providing a better access point. So I'm here to be able to answer any questions you have. I've got Abdul Amir, who's the traffic engineer who's worked on this site. One of the things I do want to mention is the traffic comments that we discussed with your traffic engineer at the Planning Commission meeting, and it was my understanding that they recommended approval of those comments, which was that the driveway access onto Alpharetta Highway would be determined by GDOT. I think that your staff, our engineer, and GDOT have all been talking about how that access, what any limitation and how it would be designed, rather than prejudging how that is done, and that's an engineering question to be determined by GDOT, your professional staff, and our engineers. I do think that there's a request to limit the left turning movement into our site from Hembry, and we're agreeable to that. I think that may need to be added to it. We're fine with that. Dan Brown is here with Racetrack, Abdul Amir, Scott Bruner with Wellstar, and we also have the civil engineer David Archibald is also here to be able to answer questions. And I'm Scott Bruner is your engineer. Sorry, Scott is also with Wellstar. Is also here to answer your questions you have. So I'm here to answer questions you have. I've got a team of professionals here that can also answer questions you have. But this is a very minor request to move a division line between two zoning districts to a more logical location to allow the development of a convenience store that will provide services to the traveling public that travel these roads, your citizens that need these services on a daily basis. And so we ask that you follow your staff recommendation, follow your planning commission recommendation, and approve the application as presented. And I'm here to answer questions. Thank you.
Does council have any questions for the applicant? Councilmember Palermo.
I'd say actually not as much a question, but something I want the applicant to be aware of and to kind of think about as you have this discussion. I think, first of all, excellent presentation. I think you raised a number of good points. I don't agree with all of them, but I think there were a lot of good points you brought up. As I looked at the presentation, as I looked at what staff showed as well, there's one major concern that I have that was not addressed, which is the fact that the request is to rezone from OP to the commercial heavy, and really the OP, the office, is a really large strategic need for the city. There's a reason why we have that gigantic area as OP, where we have Wellstar, both the actual hospital as well as a lot of medical office, and that is a need within the city where we do not have unlimited OP spots. There's a reason why we have our zoning code and the different zonings. And with that, what I think is important is that we see if there's ever a request for a rezoning, it's my expectation to see really a compelling reason for that. And again, I have concern with zoning from office when that's a need, and that is a large area of office and a part that would be taken away from it. So those are just kind of the concerns that I want to raise to you as we continue to have this discussion tonight.
Yeah, and to address that concern, the representative from Wellstar, they acquired this corner. Obviously, they would be a very probable builder of medical office or similar related office. This corner is separated from the main campus with the access to the fire station, so they didn't see it relating to the campus. So I agree with you. I certainly understand, and that's one of the reasons why I noted that they have 1,100 employees there. You want to protect that, and they want to protect that too, and that's the reason why they intentionally acquired the corner and are intentionally selling this corner for a use that is compatible and supportive of their campus.
Additional questions from council? Comments? Seeing no hands up, and we will reserve time for rebuttal. Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Philip Mansell. Again, thank you for letting me come here. I've been a resident of Roswell, living off Upper Hembry for 28 years of my life. I'm 36 now. And if anybody's ever been at the Hembry Alpharetta Highway intersection, it is a nightmare. Even now, without having a racetrack right there. And don't get me wrong, racetrack's got a great convenience store. I like to go there as well and fill up my cup, but it's going to be terrible. The racetrack has already admitted that there's going to be a 530% increase in traffic volume just in the morning alone, and a 206% increase in the afternoon. So let's say, and I'm not going to just put this hypothetically, 2 months ago, my father had a stroke, and we didn't have time to call an ambulance for everybody to get out of the way. I had to put him in the car and drive him to North Fulton as fast as I could to save his life. So what am I supposed to do at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when you've got racetrack there blocking out emergency blockade for people trying to live? And then the fire station right behind it. These firefighters, like, they need to sleep as well. So when they're working 24 hours a day at the racetrack, keeping the firefighters up, like, that's not safe. It's absurd. My next point is, so the Shell station, actually first I want to rebut the whole 3 racetracks in the area and only, what do you say, 10 or 12 convenience stores. There's 17 within a 2-mile radius. Just throwing that out there. So anyways, the next point, if they're open 24 hours a day, the Shell station and the CVS right up the street used to be open 24 hours a day. And the Shell station got robbed, they cut it down to midnight cutoff. The CVS got robbed 3 times, and they cut it down to midnight. This is just, I feel like this is a terrible idea for the citizens of Roswell, and I care more. Listen, I'm all about capitalism, all about it, but I care more about the citizens of Roswell than putting a new gas station right there. So, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Allison Stevens. I'm a native of Roswell, Georgia.
And
I think it's...
If I can interrupt you, anyone that's coming forward to speak, if you'd fill out a comment card and then state your name and address when you approach, so for our records.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm a native of Roswell. I think it's a terrible idea to have a gas station there. We have lots of gas stations. Something open 24 hours, as the gentleman just said. The CVS was robbed. I live off Upper Hembry. The gas station was robbed. People loiter. They can say what they want, but I've seen it. I just think it's a terrible idea.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, sir.
Hello, Mayor, Council. I'm Eric Spencer. I've lived here all my life. I'm sorry about this. Anyway, I've been here for 60 years. I've been on the fire department, retired. My brother's retired. My family, 2 other sides of the family, been on the PD. We had 104 years of service between fire and police. My main concern is they haven't talked much about the traffic, the noise pollution at night, car doors opening and shutting, all the machines they got back there, compressors, AC units running. And guess what's next door? Firehouse. The bunk side is on the side of the gas station. Now, I don't know how those guys are going to sleep. So we need to work out something. If you want to build it, you got to put something up there to stop the noise from the bunkhouse. That was my fire station since '95. And I just don't like it. There's no use for that station to be there. We got plenty around town. And it's just, it has engineer, is the engineer for traffic be here?
Yes, sir. We've got a staff in the room. What is your question?
How many cars are coming westbound on Hembry now versus once they get that station built?
Well, and I'll ask that question of staff.
Okay. But anyway, my main concern is I'm a firefighter, retired. I want to look after my brothers, and I just don't want nothing to happen between that gas station and the fire station. So I'm going to say no, and I don't like it. You don't mix those two together. So thank y'all. I appreciate it, and hope it's turned down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. My name is Kevin Dean. I'm a resident of Roswell, and I actually work in this zone. I'm a creative director for Apex Signs and Signs of Significance. We make signs. I've been there for 4 years since we first opened. So I'm very familiar with this area. I'm very familiar where that SunTrust Bank is, where it's just been sitting there, just been kind of an eyesore, which I totally agree with that. But the traffic at that intersection is absolutely insane. In the morning, it's crazy. In the afternoon, it's crazy. Lunch hour is crazy. Cars flying up and down that road. I think to put a gas station right there, I don't mean any disrespect to anybody in this room. I think it would be insane. Because the first thing that I would bring up is the fire station right there, where it has an area that is supposed to stay clear when traffic starts to pile up. And some people don't know that that space is there when it's their first time on Hembry. And so they close that gap. Now, if we have a gas station and we're bringing in a lot more people, a lot more traffic who are unfamiliar with that area, who just are just trying to find the nearest gas station, there's a potential for disaster there. If that lane gets all blocked up, then nobody can get out if there's an emergency. There's also an ambulance station back behind there. Back over there right off of Hembry Parkway. So it's bad enough that I work over there, and then trying to get out on Hembry is dangerous because people fly up and down that road all the time. And I think to get in the hospital or to come out of the hospital or just even cross over from Hembry Parkway into the hospital is dangerous. So I think adding something like that would just make it a dangerous situation for everybody. Forget the convenience. It would be convenient for me just to go right down the street and go to the gas station. I would love that. But it's unsafe. It would be irresponsible of me saying, I think that would be awesome. Because if it was a different situation with the traffic, it might be awesome. But I think it's a really bad idea. And not to mention the fact that they're going to tear down a lot of trees, and the crime rate may go up. Everybody I've talked to in that area agrees with me. It's just one of those things where it just doesn't make good sense. And, I hope you guys turn it down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Arrowood. I'm actually a local business owner in the area. And my main concern with this convenience store being built centers upon the in-town suites right across the street. We see the people walking up and down the street constantly. Whatever they're doing, whatever they're drinking, whatever they're on, but it's not safe. We are now going to give these people 8 lanes of traffic to cross during all types of traffic time, which I think is very, very, very dangerous for the city. It's going to be a headache for the cops, it's going to be a headache for the firefighters, and it's just not safe. And that is a very big concern of ours. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward?
Can I give this to? Thank you. Good evening. My name's Craig Sullivan. I've been a Roswell resident 20 years now. And my major concern with this is that right now on Alpharetta Highway, the area they want to change goes from a nice kind of green area, and now all of a sudden it's going to be 16 pumps, 18 pumps, whatever the design had, station. So that's going to block all that off. And also the concern is the morning traffic and afternoon traffic. They could say that, well, we're going to put barricades up. We know we're going to make that right or left turn into the racetrack. That isn't going to happen. I see it at the Quick Trip on Crabapple, where cars are constantly crossing over 3 lanes to get back on the, what is it? I forget the name of the street now. Crossville, sorry. So I think this is a bad idea. It's not the right location for it. It's not the right traffic pattern to block the traffic from coming in and out. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, please come forward.
Madam Mayor, I am right across the Shell gas station, representing the whole
And
community
I'd
over
like
there.
to reiterate, if anyone's speaking, please fill out a comment card, and when you approach, also give us your name and address. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm at 11720 Alpharetta Highway, Roswell. I have a few questions for the applicant itself. Jackie, I'll be appreciative if you can put a picture back with showing the gas pumps. So as you can see this picture, they are saying that they are like to relocate the driveway because the SunTrust driveway is at the 4th pump. Is that right, Mr. Huff?
Sir, sir, direct your comments to this body, please.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
So my question is, how in earthly it is possible for you to make such a big store without the city of Roswell needs to rezone the office area, which they don't want to do that, how it is possible? So I like to know what is this the real plan you have? Secondly, I would like to know few things which you might know. Racetrack, don't take me wrong, they make a nice stores. Each and every island, if I am not mistaken, is having a diesel island pumps. Is that correct, Mr. Huff?
Sir.
Yeah. I'm sorry, madam. What point I'm trying to make is they encourage such a big, heavy trucks all day long. So is this really we want? Are we prepared for this? If we think this parcel is zone CH, SunTrust parcel, fine. They can come and build whatever they can fit in, if we cannot deny. But why we are giving them encouragement and building a mega store in front of the neighborhood where the Shell store and the whole community the business is right there. This is Wellster thinks this is the right idea. I don't know how. Dunkin' Donuts open at 5. We open at 5 o'clock and we are open till midnight. So I don't understand how this is there is a need for that. Also, there was a misrepresentation about the number of gas stations. If you really Google up, you will see there are so many gas stations. So I like you to consider all this in detail and understand this is a very, very big store. It's going to bring a lot of traffic and it will have a lot of impact. And I want to ask one thing, and you can ask all these Boy Scout people, kids, or anyone in this room, how this is safe when our ambulances and fire trucks are so close to it. Give me one single reason why this is a safe location. That's my question. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Claire Snedeker, 765 Whitehall Way. I wanted to echo about the comments that were made about this not being the right location. And some of the comments remind me, I'm not sure how many of you remember this, but we had the situation with Andretti's wanting outdoor go-karts. And when I'm hearing the comments about the noise pollution and the light pollution, we have ordinances that were brought to bear for that decision, so that those outdoor go-karts were not allowed. And I just wanted to ask that that be looked into, about how this is perhaps similar, and what factors would be driving this to be a decision that indicates it's not the right location. Also have the question about whether tractor-trailer trucks are allowed on Hembry Road, and how that intersection, is it just a truck route on Alpharetta Highway, or is it also a truck route on Hembry Road already? And the third point is just the question about the proximity of those gas tanks to the public safety side of it, being so close to a hospital, and all the other emergency activity that's going on there. So those are my 3 points, and I ask for your consideration on those. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Nicholas Moenga, and my first question is to the council. Is it allowed, or
If
is
you
it
would please
legal-
speak into the microphone, we're having a little trouble hearing you. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Nicholas Moenga, and my first question is to the council. Is it allowed, or is it legal to change from OP to CH? As we had the portion Let's Truck is trying to buy is labeled as OP, which is Office Park. And the one which is already there, which is already zoned, which is commercial heavy, is it possible to change that in Roswell City? And another concern is about the traffic, like my fellow listeners have just said. If you travel Alpharetta Highway by 3 o'clock, 3:30 to 5 o'clock when school buses are dropping kids, that place is a mess. You can stay there like 40, 45 minutes before even you make it to another gas station. Secondly, there's a lot of gas station from Holcomb Bridge. There's a Shell before you get to Mansell. There's another Shell gas station opposite Wellstar Hospital. Then there's an Exxon, which is like a quarter mile. Then there's another Chevron, which is actually a half a mile down the road. So I don't know if we put Let's Truck just in between or behind the fire station and next to Wellstar is a good idea. That's my concern. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one approach, I would like to ask staff if you could address some of the questions about the traffic counts and the truck route on Hembry and Highway 9. If you could help us with some of those issues, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. For the record, Scott Bruner, City Traffic Engineer. I can give you some of the numbers relative to the Hembry Road, State Road 9 intersection. Just for comparison, the morning eastbound approach is 574 vehicles. I take that every day, so I'm pretty familiar with that. I live on Hembry Road myself, so I go through that intersection about 10 times a day. So that's going to increase from 574 to 607 with the project. Westbound, it's going to increase from 324 to 363. Northbound, 1,173 to 1,249. Southbound approach, 1318 to 1401. Basically, the average increase relative to the project is 4.9% at the intersection. I will tell you that since I drive it, you can wait 2 or 3 cycles in the morning heading eastbound, and you can get stuck on a second cycle westbound in the afternoon. North and south is pretty busy. It is pretty busy during the PM part, also with the school traffic. However, we did look at this pretty closely. We actually flew our drone. We flew it during the peak hours, and have a presentation if you wanted to see it, but basically the queuing on the eastbound side really is not really affected by the project. Westbound, it is affected by the westbound queue on Hembury. That is why we're prohibiting the left turn into the project. We realize that that driveway could be blocked at times, so we're not going to allow the left turn in because that queue could back up to the intersection. On the State Road 9, we looked at it really carefully. They're at just about all times of the day, the center lane is open to traffic, and for a good portion of the peak hours, the queue does not go to where their driveway is. They push the driveway to 300 feet. So that's, if they can get a full access through GDOT's permitting process, we have no objection to that. Henry Road is not a truck route west of State Road 9.
Thank you. And I'm going to, thank you, sir. I'm going to ask the applicant to come back for a rebuttal.
Just wanted to make a couple of points in response to the questions and concerns. This is a signalized intersection. There's 33,000 cars that are on this road every day, and I believe that's the Alpharetta Highway. You put convenience stores with fueling in the places where cars are. There's a good reason for that. I mean, we all have our own experiences. Racetrack's a really good client of mine. And when I'm looking for a convenience store to fill up on the right-hand side, if it's Racetrack, I'll fill in, but I fill up where it's convenient for me to fill up. People don't go out of their way, especially at the peak traffic time when it's harder to get around, to go to specific stores. You put them on the major routes, and this is a signalized intersection. You know, you were told that this is like some bucolic area. This is a very commercialized corridor. Your land use plan has it very commercialized. All the zonings around it are heavy commercial. There is absolutely no scenario where this signalized corner is not developed in a way that is car-centric. That is not going to happen. You're not going to have a little non-car-centric use at the signalized intersection of two major roads in a heavy commercial corridor. So the idea that this is somehow not consistent with the area is not correct. Again, looking at where convenience stores are in the area, a radius, is actually not looking at the right thing. You want to look at where convenience stores are on the travel corridors. That's the reason why I really pointed out. And that's the reason why your planning commission picked up on that there is a need for fueling on this, in this corridor. We've all experienced, we all know this route, and especially as I said, if you're driving north, there's a long gap without convenient fueling. And the fueling that Racetrack offers is not just the fueling, but also the convenience items. They coined the term, instead of convenience stores, convenience markets, because inside their stores, they have for your citizens a wide accoutrement of prepared foods that they offer, and that means one-stop shopping versus a couple of stop shopping, and they're doing that to provide services. Do want to address the issue of being open 24 hours. I think that is something that Racetrack is very, very intentional about. They require that at least 2 employees be at their stores at all times. They are open 24 hours. There's a good reason for that, because when you close a store, or when you open a store, that's when you're vulnerable. And when you close a store, you have to turn the lights off, because you can't leave the lights on and keep it bright, because then people pull in thinking it's open. So you have to turn the lights off, and that's when you can have, it's a corner that the lights are down and the canopies, the lights have to be down. So yes, it's a 24-hour store, But you have 1,100 employees that are coming and going, all in patients and families, all during the day. So I do think that that's part of one of the rationales for Wellstar intentionally going under contract with Racetrack. If you're familiar with their store, with their hospital in Marietta, there's a brand new racetrack that opened up right off Church Road, which is right at their intersection and entrance to their hospital, and provides a lot of good services to it. You've heard from your professional staff who drives this all the time. He has a couple of comments on limiting left turn movements. But what you heard was not 1,000% increase in traffic. People go to convenience stores that are convenient for a reason, because it's on their route. There aren't any safety concerns that we aren't addressing by fully complying with distances for driveways and GDOT requirements. And as I said, we are making this intersection, this redevelopment of this corner better by being able to move that driveway further north so that we can have a better, safer access point there. So when you look at the case in totality, and it is interesting that we didn't have any public comment until now, and I certainly understand Mr. Shaw's concerns, and he certainly, I think he'll survive and do well, because there's plenty of business to be had, and there's plenty of opportunity. He's on the opposite side of the road, and so he will be picking up a different traffic pattern than we will. And so, but your citizens deserve the opportunity to have options, and Racetrack is a local company that provides a very good service to your community, and this is an appropriate intersection. And I go back to the point that, number one, if you look at the corner, I may be going the wrong direction. There we go. If you look at this entire corner, that entire other side of the road is zoned heavy commercial. The entire intersection for hundreds of yards north and south of this intersection are zoned heavy commercial. Councilman Palermo, I respect your concern about protecting the integrity of the work center, the campus, and this does that. Yes, it pushes it northward, but it's an area that is separated from the campus because of topography and because of the access to the fire station. So when you look at all those factors, there's no constitutional reason to not push that line between office and heavy commercial a few, like 100 feet northward, as we propose. It's only 0.3 acres. When you look on the opposite side of the road, that whole entire corridor for Upper Hembry down to Hembry at a depth of probably 600 to 800 feet or more is all zoned heavy commercial. So logically, there is absolutely no reason, there's no constitutional reason why you would deny this minor modification to that. Your professional staff reviewed it in compliance with your land use plan and compliance with the visions along this corridor. Your planning commission unanimously recommended approval. We ask that you follow their professional opinions. You had your professional engineer stand up and say this does not create any dangerous situation, and to think that there is any use that would go here that would not have traffic is a fantasy. It's a commercial area at a signalized intersection. Whatever goes there is going to be a business that has cars coming and going. So I appreciate your time, and let me make sure real quick. Addressed everything that my client wanted me to make sure I addressed. So thank you for your time very much. And again, we've got a whole team of here, from our civil engineer to a traffic engineer, that can answer any detailed questions that I can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to open this back up to council for questions, comments. I've got a question for Ms. Dybel. Did you have any conversations with the applicant about reducing their footprint to contain this facility within the zoned area that it's allowed?
When they came in for their pre-application meeting sometime over the summer, we did mention that and indicate that that it was allowed by right in CH zoning, and you would not have to go through the process. So yes, we discussed that at the beginning of the before they submitted.
And could you tell me if they were to contain it within the portion of the property that's already zoned for it, how many bays would they lose? Do you?
It would probably lose, I would say, probably around 2.
Okay.
From what we could determine.
Thank you. Does council have any questions, comments? Yes.
Yes, I have. Thank you, Mayor. A question for Jackie. Does the property as it is currently zoned as OP conform with the comprehensive plan?
The property under zoning of the OP does conform with the comprehensive plan.
Great. Thank you.
Additional comments from council? Councilmember Zapata?
Thank you, Mayor. So, yeah, I do appreciate Racetrack Corporation. I do appreciate Racetrack Corporation partnership with Wellstar in different locations in Metro Atlanta. But I also have to look from the resident perspective. And this is when I start asking, questions like, we haven't discussed here about the environmental impact on the site as a gas station. We've been talking a lot about convenience store, but at the end of the day, it's a gas station. So they do have environmental impact, gas station, when they move in and when they move out. So on this side, for what I understand, is clean today from the environmental point of view. That is one point that I want to address here. The other one is like the healthcare industry area that the city of Roswell is trying to develop with very well-paid jobs. I don't know what is the average payroll of a gas station employees, but definitely the health industry provide very significant payroll, and the city has strategically decided that they want to develop more the health care industry area, and we have other companies in the area like Northside developing outpatient buildings and offices there. So not only Wellstar, but I don't know, maybe even Emory is there, but I know for sure Northside is in the area. So we're trying to develop this as a healthcare industry area around the hospital. So this is the other point I want to make. And also office. Everybody in Roswell knows that what we need is more office. With office, we'll attract well-paid jobs for Roswell residents and nearby residents. The other one that was discussed by the residents today was the safety. How safe is to have a gas station right next to a hospital? How safe is to have a gas station right next to the fire department? That is also concern that I have, and my fellow residents also raised those concerns tonight. So I think that even gas stations are needed and good, but you have to find the right location as well for a gas station. So so going back to the zoning map, if we can do that, please. I would like to point out people to focus on the blueprint. No? There you go. Thanks. So what we see here on the corner, the red, is just an exception of the whole area east of Alpharetta Highway and north of Henry Road. As we can see here clearly, it's all blue, which is Office Park, versus the corner that is just the CH area. So as we can see on this side of the road, everything except for the corner on a blueprint is Office Park. So actually, I would like to ask why this corner was left CH and no Office Park like the rest of the area that is, like I said, east of Alpharetta Highway and north of Henry Road. So I have a lot of questions, concerns about this project, and I would like to hear more from my council members, what they have to say from the resident perspective.
Thank you, Councilmember Zapata. Additional comments, questions from council? Yes, Councilmember Tizer.
So the applicant made a really good point early on, and that was that it's not the purpose of government to decide winners and losers. But our decision here tonight isn't about deciding whether a gas station should go here or not. Our decision here tonight is quite a bit more simple. Our decision here tonight is decide whether we should change the zoning of the little piece of blue from OP to CH. In order to do that, from my standpoint, I need to see a compelling reason why it needs to change. And so I've listened carefully, I'm continuing to listen to hear that compelling reason, which I've yet to hear. It seems like the compelling reason, or the reasoning here is to make the gas station have those 2 extra bays, to make the gas station the right footprint. So I'm waiting to hear a good, solid, compelling reason to change the zoning, because if you want to build a gas station by right, you can build a gas station by right. What you can't do by right is build a gas station on that blue piece. So it's real simple. We're deciding whether to change the zoning on that little piece or not whether we build a gas station. And so waiting for that compelling reason and not yet hearing it, I'm really struggling.
Thank you, Councilmember Tizer. Additional comments from council? Questions? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. I have a responsibility to uphold our zoning code. The OP zoning conforms to our comprehensive plan, which had citizen input and was approved by City Council. And I have a responsibility to protect the health and welfare of our residents. I motion to deny item 6.
We've got a motion to deny by Councilmember Palermo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Zapata. Any additional comments from council? All those in favor, please raise your hands. And the denial passes unanimously. Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. Item number 7, request for conditional uses, CU 2019-3693/CU 2019-3694.
If you all would please hold your comments until you leave chambers, we would appreciate it. We've got a long agenda this evening. Excuse me? Councilmember Palermo.
Sure. Item number 7, request for conditional uses, CU 2019-3693, CU 2019-3694, 1073/1077/1087 Alpharetta Street. Ms. Dybel?
Thank you. This is a conditional use request, 2019-3693, and a second conditional use request, 2019-3694, located at 1073, 1077, and 1087 Alpharetta Street, as shown on the aerial that is before you this evening. As you can see, it is located on Alpharetta Highway, or Alpharetta Street, and it backs up to Fraser Street. The applicant's requesting a conditional use for a boutique hotel, which ranges between 31 and 125 rooms. From what we understand with the applicant, they're looking at a 125-room boutique hotel. The second conditional use is for an additional 5th story of height for the development of this hotel. As you can see, the property is Zone DX, which is downtown mixed use. The next slides that I have here are the slides for the hotel itself. This is the bottom floor showing you the parking area. They are showing 73 spaces total with the 49 valet spaces. All of the parking is located on their own property. This is the lobby level of the proposed hotel. And this is a typical guest floor level containing the rooms. This is the proposed elevation of the hotel. The applicant went to the Historic Preservation Commission during the process. The HPC then met with them again 2 weeks after that discussion and worked through the designs for this project. This is what they've shown here to show how it's going up the first level, and then it goes steps back, and then it goes up the additional four after that. So they've worked with the HPC in order to meet with the master plan itself, but also to meet with the Southern Post project that is located to the south. So what they've tried to do is work through that portion of what is going on the Southern Post site in order to make the requirements be similar and match what the Southern Post project is doing. This has 5 stories, is what they're asking for. They are allowed to do 4. The Southern Post project is 5.5 stories. Staff did recommend approval of the conditional use for the hotel itself and also for the 5th story. That they are to incorporate all staff comments in the site design prior to submitting for a C of A from the HPC. This may lead to reduction in the building size. The number of hotel rooms is not guaranteed. The underdeveloper should use decorative trees instead of the proposed evergreens for the street trees, as approved by our city arborist. And the underdeveloper shall revise plans to show the shoulder improvements, sidewalk, roadway, and street lighting upgrades to match the proposed Southern Post project as required by Roswell Transportation Department. The Planning Commission heard this item last month, and they recommended approval with all staff conditions. Do you have any questions for staff?
Does council have any questions? Yes, Councilmember Tizer.
Ms. Dybel, just a couple of quick questions. I heard you've made a couple of comments about stories, and I think that gets people concerned. What I'm really concerned about is height. Can you tell us what is the expected height, the way they've drawn this building, and how does that compare to anything that's around it in the new area of development?
So under the current zoning of DX, 4 stories, which is allowed by right, is 55 feet, 4.5 stories max. They're requesting 5 stories, and that is 67 feet based on our Unified Development Code. The applicant's plan indicates a 67-foot tall hotel to match with the code the Unified Development Code. To go around the area, the Southern Post is 5.5 stories. So the applicant does have a drawing that I do believe we have in our file here to show you a little bit different, but they will also show it during their presentation, show that it is a half a story below what the proposed Southern Post is. However, I do not have anything specific on Fraser Street other than the fact that the houses that are across Fraser Street are probably 1 to 1.5 stories. That's probably about all I have for that. And then the City Walk is, I believe, 3 stories when it was built. That's the best I can do for the stories around the area.
Thank you. I'm glad to wait for the applicant's drawings.
Okay.
Yes, Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. Ms. Dybel, can you go back to the slide that had the recommended conditions? Thank you. So now I just want to make sure I understand item number 3, because if I'm understanding this correctly, then it's pretty significant in the sense that, first, I guess my first question is number 3 relevant for both Highway 9 and Fraser Street?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And then, so I just want to make sure I understand it correctly. So basically, however, the HPC and the Southern Post together have worked out the size of the sidewalks, the street lighting upgrades, all those different aspects. Am I understanding correctly that the hotel would have the same requirements?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wilsey.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Jackie, could you give us a little bit of history and overview of the process that this project went through with HPC and what some of their comments were initially and how they were addressed?
When this was submitted, they had a different elevation that you saw this evening. They went to the Historic Preservation Commission during the process. One of the requirements of the process is to go to the HPC or the Design Review Board. At that meeting, there was lots of discussion. The HPC didn't fully agree with it at the point in time. At that, the day after that, they called our staff planner and set up a work session. And so 2 weeks after the HPC meeting where they discussed it, they had a work session with the board members. And that is where the elevation that you saw here came from. They met with them, they worked through it, they discussed the different options they had. The HPC wanted it to be similar to the Southern Post. They wanted to see how well it could match. They wanted it to be set back similar to where the Southern Post is so things could line up.
And as it's designed now, does it conform substantially with the Historic District Master Plan?
Yes.
It does. Okay.
Councilmember Judy.
It conforms entirely with the Historic District Master Plan, correct?
Well, I'd have to take a look at the
Well,
full master
yeah, I
plan,
mean,
but it meets the requirements as I looked at it prior, yes.
And then my other question was, on the corner, I know there's a store, Lily and Sage, I believe is the name of it. Have you heard from them regarding this hotel being next to them?
They have been to the neighborhood meeting, and they did attend the planning commission and indicated their support at that meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. So, couple of questions. I can see on this picture now that you are showing, what about the setback? Is this on the sidewalk, or there's any setbacks contemplating this project?
So yes, there are setbacks for the project. So technically, under the code, this would fall under general building type. So under general building type, the front setback is technically 5 feet, side, and then the rear is 0 or 3. However, you have to remember there is sidewalk and landscaping, everything that they have set up there. So you might have the 8-foot sidewalk, and then you're going to have, the building's going to be set back behind that. So it's not actually going to be at 5 feet on the street.
So it will be 8 plus 5?
It's probably going to be more than 8. I'm not exactly sure how far setback. Do you take a look at this?
Because you said that the sidewalk will be 8?
The sidewalk proposed to match the Southern Post would be 8 feet, and that would be required because I believe that's required on Alpharetta Street at that location.
And then we have to add 5 more,
15? We're looking at 15 feet.
15 feet total from the curve to the building?
Yes.
Okay, and then what have been the discussion in terms of mass and scale of this project, where, especially with the 5th floor?
Well, with the HPC, is that what you meant?
Correct.
Yes, that was discussed at length during their meeting, and like I said, the first go-around, they weren't sure about how they liked it, what they thought. They weren't overly favorable to the 5th floor, but then after the work session and the redesign, they also, like I said, they stepped it back, and they also worked on a little bit, dropping it a little bit next to the Lily and Sage. Once they worked out that design, the HPC was in support of the 5th story.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions, comments from council for staff? At this time, we'd like to hear from the applicant.
Oh, we don't need to do that right now. Good evening, I'm Matt Mitchell. I'm with Foley Design. We're the architects for the project, and we're at 950 Lowry Boulevard in Atlanta. I'll go ahead and walk through it. If you could just put the plans back up, I'll walk through it. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Right. Okay. I'll start at the lobby level, which is street level. So the site slopes pretty substantially. That's the first thing I'd like to call to your attention. You can see at the entry to the auto court at the southwest corner, we've got a 1084 elevation, and we've got a 1081 at the northwest. And then on the back side at Fraser, it actually drops off. So what we've got is relative to the southern post property at that southwest corner, we're essentially the same grade in terms of the sidewalk. So I'll walk through the ground floor and then I'll circle back around to talk a little bit about how the elevations relate to each other. So right off of our auto court, you can see we've got the vestibule and the lobby, and the building is essentially a V opening to the south, and that's where we've sheltered a landscape area and then the amenity space, which will be the public outdoor space for the hotel. In response to Councilmember Zapata's questions about the sidewalk, we've actually got the sidewalk, but we're holding the building back an additional 5 feet so that we've got some landscaping up against the building between the sidewalk and the property lines. We're actually not building to the property line. You can see in this drawing that we've pulled the lobby spaces back a little bit. And then you can also notice that one thing that we've done as an urban planning move is we've added this outdoor patio space that opens off of the hotel restaurant for outdoor seating and dining. When we work our way back around to Fraser, we've reduced the scale of those rooms, and we've got guest rooms along that backside, so it does go to a more residential and a less formal and public scale. When we go up, you can see each floor is typical. Each of the upper 4 guest floors is all guest rooms. We've got a mix of king and queen and a couple different types of each. Relative to the elevation, as Jackie said, I think she was a little bit too kind because the HPC really didn't like what we had the first time for some different reasons. But the first thing that we discussed was how does it relate to the historic preservation or the new historic master plan? And that involves the view corridors and stepping the building back. We had the building designed holding the street edge like the Southern Post building next door does, but in talking through it and working through the plans with them, their preference was to step it back. They had mentioned stepping it back at the top floor. We actually elected to step the whole thing back at the first guest floor, which is the second floor. We also reworked the massing a little bit, and we pulled it back away from the Lily Sage property, continued that step around the north side, so because they had some concerns about the mass of the building relating to that smaller building as well. And then how do I change this over, and then I can talk through exactly how the heights relate to each other.
Give it a second.
Overhead projector. There we go. That'll work. So you can see here that this is actually the old elevation where the whole thing was just holding the street line or the street edge. The heights will essentially be the same though. We've got the same floor-to-floor heights at each floor. We've still got the 5 total floors. And you can see that to the right, this actually right here is our project. This is the extent of our project. This is actually the Southern Post project here. And you can see that they are going up taller than we are. That's actually part of their apartments coming over to the street at that point. And so we're starting at essentially the same elevation, but we're maxing out at the 67 feet. I think that's all that I had.
Does council have any questions? Yes, Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. So I can see the bottom one is the view if I'm standing on Highway 9.
Correct.
What's the view for the top one? Where am I standing for looking at that?
The top one, I'm confused. Oh, that's actually the same. That's just
that's
blowing
the same
up.
view.
That's just blowing up the same view.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Right,
Thank you.
Councilmember Judy.
This is the old design,
Correct.
though, correct? Not the new design. So
Correct.
it's kind of hard to look at that and think it's the same thing.
The only thing I'm using this for is to show the heights, because the heights will be the same.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Wilsey.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the hotel itself and what is planned in terms of services and that sort of thing?
That's
on
probably
the
better for
site? So,
ownership.
yes. I'd just like to know a little bit more about, the business itself that's going in and what kind of economic benefit, the hotel's bringing to the city and that sort of thing, so.
Sure. I'm Matt White, live at 4513 Wingham Place, Marietta. So I'm part of the ownership group that's developing the hotel. We haven't selected a brand at this point, but our intent is to select a brand in either the Marriott, Hilton, or Hyatt end of the world as far as the brands or flags are concerned, and to stay in the Select Serve brand. Similar to hotels we've done in different cities, like in Charleston, South Carolina, where we have, it's a Residence Inn, but it's an adaptive urban adaptation where there's really nothing prototype about it. And as with this site, there's really nothing that'll be prototype about this for any brand that we select, but it still falls into the Marriott chain. As far as the amenities that are on site, there'll be fitness, meeting space, and restaurant in addition to the hotel rooms.
Additional, yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. So, great. So quick question, will be a full kitchen as well? You
Yes.
say will be restaurant?
Full
but
kitchen and bar.
Full kitchen. So this bringing probably to like a 4-star hotel maybe, and up? Because maybe.
It really depends on the flag we end up with, so I'm not prepared to say what level of star it would be at.
Okay, thanks, good. So the other question is, I can imagine that all the parking requirements have been met and hopefully exceed, since, we have so much problem with parking in the area. So I don't know if you can tell us a bit about the parking solution that you're going to offer for your guests, and if it's going to be, valet parking or paid parking or.
Sure, so we're going to be having all parking on site, valet parking, and paid parking. Right now, it's designed to meet zoning requirements. My personal opinion and experience in the hotel world, though, is that driving ratios have plummeted since Uber and Lyft have come around, so we don't forecast any parking problems.
Okay. My other question here will be, what kind of materials you will be using on the front? The style is something that is going to be a unique, something that is going to be, a landmark, or is going to be just a plain
So
hotel?
the same team that is doing this project, which is Matt and myself and the guys at S.J. Collins, did the interlock development in West Midtown. Similar thing, mixed-use thing with a hotel. And so we're really used to working with them, and we've already got all their material selections, and what we're doing is, for example, our window patterns and our window color is going to match Southern Post. We're pulling a lot of the metal detailing from their office building that's on that south side, and then the brick is actually going to be the same brick that they're using on one of their buildings as well. And then we're going to incorporate to make this piece unique, because I know there was a preference for both the Planning Commission and the HPC to show a diversity of materials. So we're pulling them together with those, but then we're going to provide stone at that base that is going to be unique to this building.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions, comments from council? Thank you, gentlemen. Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, ma'am.
Janet Russell. I've been a travel planner for 40 years, so I've probably seen 5,000 hotels. Couple of questions. Will this hotel have a porte cochere?
Ms. Russell, if you would direct your
well,
questions.
since nobody up there will know the answer either, does this hotel have a porte cochere? Will they offer concierge services? Will there be a special event room or meeting conference rooms? And will they offer a free shuttle from the MARTA train station at North Springs to their hotel? And will they offer free shuttle service like the DoubleTree does within so many miles of the hotel to other areas of the city of Roswell?
Thank you, Ms. Russell. I will ask the applicant to cover that in their rebuttal time. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one come forward, if the applicant would like to address those concerns and any other closing comments you'd like to make?
I'll address the ones about the building itself, and Matt will address the ones about operations. So if you could go back to the, I keep screwing you up, I'm sorry. If you could go back to the sketch. I'll go back. Oops. Oh. Yes, we will have a porte cochere. That entry is covered, and the drop-off is covered. You can see that at the right side of this sketch. And then the rest of it was operations, wasn't it?
So meeting space, we do have meeting space programmed on site. Right now we have, plus or minus 800, 900 feet. We'll have to further our market studies determine if we decrease key count on the lobby level and increase meeting space. So that ultimately that decision is still malleable. As far as if we're going to have a shuttle, that's still TBD. I mean, typically with any hotel, what we'll do is we'll go in and take a look at the amenities for the hotels in their comp set. If all the other hotels are offering shuttle service and we need to do that in order to be competitive, absolutely, then we will incorporate that into our business model. And as far as having shuttle access going to the MARTA station, that's also to be determined. Also, we have to be able to recruit the best employees to be able to come work at our property. If we need to be able to have shuttle service to a MARTA station to be able to facilitate that, then absolutely that's what we're going to do. But at this point in time, we're not ready to commit to that.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any additional comments or? Okay. Then I will bring this back to council. Council have any additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing no hands up, do I have a motion?
So I will say, given this is in the historic district, I'm hesitant around approving the conditional use for the 5th story. That being said, things that I've seen as I've looked at this property, at this application, is of course a major one is that southern post right next door is going to be taller, is going to be that 5.5 stories, and that's the thing where we had the opportunity to have it be, the southern post be just 2 stories to really maintain more of the height within our historic district. And unfortunately, the majority of this council supported it going up to 5.5 stories to bring in a large apartment building. And at the end of the day, although that doesn't create a requirement to support a 5th story here, at the end of the day, it is right next door. The request is a little shorter, and also the fact that there is really the city need to increase really our commercial tax base and commercial revenue, which this property is 0% residential, 100% commercial, and for those that don't know as well, something interesting with this one is there is the possibility of potential environmental cleanup or those aspects, things that I'm not familiar with, but just I want to bring up there's a lot of great opportunities with creating this redevelopment right here and bringing in this hotel that the applicant has clearly worked very hard on with staff. And so given those different reasons, I motion to approve all the conditional uses within item 7.
It's a motion to approve.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Zapata. Does that include the conditions from staff?
Yes, they absolutely, with all of the staff-provided conditions. Thank you.
And
Second.
all those in favor, please raise your hands, and it passes unanimously. At this time, we're going to take a 10-minute break before we resume with the additional community development items on the agenda.
number 8, approval of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code to section 9.5.11, letter C, vehicle sales or leasing, new, and section 9.511, letter D, vehicle sales and leasing, used. This is the first reading. Ms. Dybel?
Mr. Davidson.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Code by modifying Section 9.5.11, vehicle sales and rental. Now therefore, the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, Georgia, pursuant to their authority, do hereby amend Section 9.5.11, vehicle sales rental, the text of which is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this will be the first reading.
This is a text amendment to the article in question here. This is letter C, the vehicle sales or leasing new, and letter D, vehicle sales or leasing used. That's currently in the code. What we're looking to do is add the statement under letters C and D, and we'd be creating a letter G and a letter, it's supposed to be an I or an L? An L, with the following language. When the facility is used as a showroom only, the minimum lot size is not required. The facility is considered showroom only in instances where the entirety of the inventory is kept within a building, and there shall be no outdoor storage or display of inventory. So currently in the code, if you take a look at number 2, letter A, we have a minimum lot size of 1.5 acres under new, and under used, we have a minimum lot size of 0.075. So what this statement would do would indicate that if anybody's keeping vehicle inventory and it's all indoors, there'd be no minimum lot size. Do you have any questions for staff? Planning Commission recommended approval of the text amendment, and staff recommends approval of the first reading.
Does council have any questions for staff? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, please come forward.
And I will do that. My name is Doria Rogers, and I live in Roswell. And I guess the reason we wanted the used in there, if everything is inside, and Planning Commission, they even said, you know, like Frazier's has everything in their building, and they're new and used. So we'd like to have that added to the amendment, please.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve this first reading?
Motion to approve by Councilmember Palermo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 9, approval of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code, section 12.7.8, definitions for flood damage prevention only. This is the first reading.
Mr. Davidson.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Code, Section 12.7.8, definitions for flood damage prevention only, to make changes to definitions as requested by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. Now therefore, the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, Georgia, pursuant to their authority, do hereby amend the Unified Development Code, the text of which is incorporated by reference, and if approved, this will be the first reading.
Ms. Bromberg.
Thank you. Just a quick background. This was based on a meeting that was held with FEMA back in April during a community assistance visit. As a part of that, they reviewed our ordinance, and in May sent a letter requesting the changes that are included in the first reading this evening. It was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. Just quickly, the definitions section of this article are the only places where changes are happening, and the requests are to add at the end of the area of special flood hazard definition, the language that is on the slide. I will not read the entire thing. As well as for the definition of existing construction, there's a reference to a date. The date is to be corrected to December 15th, 1977. Existing manufactured home, park, or subdivision, exact same thing. A date that is referenced needs to be corrected. Manufactured home, park, or manufactured home subdivision is a new definition that they have asked for us to include because it is referenced elsewhere in the document. And then for new construction, again, a correction to a date, and new manufactured home park or subdivision, a correction to a date. Planning Commission did recommend approval of this, and staff also recommends approval of the first reading.
Does council have any questions for staff? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Palermo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 10, approval of the initiation of a text amendment to Article 14, definitions, Section 14.2, defined terms, alley of the Unified Development Code.
So yes, this is to add some clarification wording in the definition section of the Unified Development Code under the word alley. So currently, the definition as listed in the code is written up there on the top, which states a public or private thoroughfare which affords only a secondary means of access to abutting property. The addition would be to add in what is listed in shown in red, alley shall not be used as the sole access to a property. So this is what we'd be initiating, a change to the definition. Staff recommends approval of the initiation.
Does council have any questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Do I have a motion?
Motion to initiate item 10.
Motion by Councilmember Palermo. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it is Zapata, Wilsey, Palermo, and Judy. All those opposed? Councilmember Tizer.
Item number 11, approval of the Tree Bank Fund Administration project list for FY 2020 and FY 2021, and budget amendment BA 2457-1401-11-12-19 in the amount of $330,000. Ms. Bromberg?
Thank you. Just a quick background. The tree bank funds are found in the UDC section 12.1.7. The funds may be used for planting and maintaining trees and other applicable landscaping for public benefit on public property or private property within a public easement within the city, and is subject to approval by mayor and council. The fiscal 20 and 21 project lists were presented at committee in September. A portion of that list was approved by council in October. The remainder of the list was brought back at request to the October 30th committee with some revisions. The fiscal 20 project list includes the transportation allocation funds, which are specifically used on transportation projects, the revised fiscal 20 project list, as well as the budget amendment, and then the fiscal 21 project list, which does not include the funding that will be done as a part of the next budget cycle. Quickly, the transportation allocation, the balance remaining is just under $36,000. The recommendation is for those funds to be used on the Hardscrabble Road, Chafin Road landscape project with the Wexford subdivision as the location for that expenditure. That's a not to exceed amount given that that's the only funds available remaining. And then for the fiscal 20 revised project list, there are two for the Recreation and Parks Department. One is an increase in their maintenance fund for the fiscal year 20 by $30,000 to give them a total of $50,000. The East Roswell Park Phase 2 is $80,000, and those funds would be used to complete Phase 2 of East Roswell Park improvement plan along Fouts Road. Transportation has one project at $120,000, and this is for the Hardscrabble Road and Chafin Road landscape plan, which is the street trees and landscaping along the linear project where they've been working with Rec and Parks to develop that. And then Environmental Public Works has made a request for a planting fund not to exceed of $50,000, as well as a maintenance fund not to exceed of $50,000, and that is the total, the $330,000 budget amendment that was included as a part of the packet. And then just quickly, the fiscal 21 projects, these are the same as what's been seen at all the presentations on this project. There's a planting fund and a maintenance fund for Rec and Parks at $30,000 and $50,000. Those are not to exceed amounts. Just as a reminder, those projects, when they're in the not to exceed funding items, the projects themselves do have to come back to committee for this body to at least see those projects before the funds are expended, but it is a not to exceed amount that they have to stay within. Three other projects that Recreation and Parks has for fiscal year '21 are the front entrance to Hembry Park, tree replacement for the Physical Activities Center addition, to basically replace the trees they have to take down to build that addition on the building, and then the front entrance to Big Creek Park. As of right now, Transportation does not have new requests for fiscal '21. And then Environmental Public Works has made the same request for $50,000 for a planting fund. And I apologize, there's a typo. That should say fiscal year '21 on that line item, as well as $50,000 for a maintenance fund. Again, these funds would be revisited as a part of the budget cycle. Just as a summary, this does include the fiscal '20 project list, those that were already approved, and then this would be in addition to that, and then the budget amendment that goes along with that of $330,000, and then the fiscal '21 project list with funding to be done as a part of the fiscal '21 budget. Staff does recommend approval of this information. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Councilmember Palermo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. The next on the agenda is the Transportation Department, and I'm going to ask Councilmember Tizer if he'll call those agenda items.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 12 is approval for the mayor and/or city administrator to sign a construction contract with E.R. Snell Contractor, Inc. for the State Route 9 Atlanta Street at Oxbow Road intersection T-SPOS project in the amount not to exceed $5,961,858.99. Mr. Ruff.
Thank you, Councilmember Tizer. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the first item for transportation is the construction contract for the State Road 9 Oxbow intersection T-SPOS project. So some background on the crash history at the intersection of Highway 9 and Oxbow. We have an average of 36 crashes a year for the past several years, and this intersection has been on our top 5 high crash locations in the city consistently for the past many years. And there is some other dysfunctional areas around the intersection that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So on the project description, so the project as designed, we've got realignment of Oxbow Road and Oxbow Drive to make them align to connect Oxbow all the way through to Mimosa Boulevard. And we have a traffic signal that we'll be installing at the intersection of 9 and Oxbow. That's where all the crashes are occurring. We'll also extend the Elm Street from its existing terminus at Maple Street to the intersection of Oxbow and Pleasant Hill Street to provide safer access to the Mill Village area and to improve the operations on Highway 9. And we'll also upgrade Pleasant Hill Street to a two-way street. Currently, it's at 23% grade. After the project is done, it's going to be a two-way street with a 10% grade. So here's a quick project graphic. North is to the top of the screen. You see Mimosa Boulevard on the left, and then Oxbow Road just going through at the intersection, at the future signalized intersection of 9 and Oxbow. And then you also see the Pleasant Hill two-way street and the Elm Street connection to Maple Street. So the project has been designed and all the right-of-way has been acquired. And we went through the bid process. We received 5 bids, and staff is recommending awarding the construction contract to E.R. Snell, a contractor, Inc. Their bid was the second lowest bid at $5,961,859. The lowest bid was about $280,000 less. But we recently, in the recent 18 months, the city had 2 different contracts, construction contract with that contractor, and the experience was not good. So between legal, finance, and transportation department, staff is recommending to award the contract to the second lowest bidder, which is E.R. Snell Contractor. On the financial impact, so there's T-SPOS funds available in the project in the amount of $4.8 million, and staff is recommending a budget amendment to shift $2 million from the Big Creek Parkway T-Splosh project account to enable award of this contract and leave some funds available for future anticipated construction-related activities on the project, and also to award to the second lowest bidder, E.R. Snell. So to give you a full financial picture of the project, so the design, total design cost was $629,000. Total right-of-way cost was $5.2 million. And if you approve the budget amendment and the contract tonight, the total future construction cost would be $6.8 million. And we understand that the contract that we are awarding today is $5.9, but with the $2 million budget shift, we'll have an additional $900,000 in the project, which we'll be using for some utility costs, some stream credits, and some anticipated right-of-way commitments. Hopefully it'll be less than the $900,000 that's going to be available, but we're just kind of trying to build some contingency in the project. So going back to the last slide on the staff recommendation, so the staff is recommending the budget amendment and the award to the second lowest bidder, E.R. Snell. Any questions?
Does council have any questions? Yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. So does this almost $6 million contemplate the cost of construction for Elm Street? What I call the cut-through. Elm Street is contemplated on this almost $6 million?
So this whole project cost, including the realignment of the Oxbow Road and Oxbow Drive, installation of a traffic signal, and making Pleasant Hill a two-way street from one way and make it less steep, and construction of the connection to Elm Street, all of that is included in the total construction cost, yes.
Okay, and how much is the Elm Street portion?
We have not divided the project in two pieces, so we don't know. The way the quantities are measured, like for example, asphalt, all asphalt work is just one big quantity for the whole project. So we don't have independent separate costs for different pieces of this project.
Okay, so yeah, that is a problem when you bundle different concept of different needs. Is a problem because, you know, addressing Highway 9 and Oxbow, nobody has a question about it. But, you know, building what I call a cut-through or Elm Street, that is a problem. So, so bundling all together, you or us get in a situation that we like maybe 90% of the project or 95% of the project, and we have to vote for that even though there's maybe 5–10% of the project that, you know, I personally don't agree. So this is what I was asking you, how much does it cost Elm Street by itself? But obviously these projects have been bundled and it's not even a cost allocated exclusively to Elm Street. So, you know, I will support this, but again, the situation of having bundled this project, you know, gave me a very uncomfortable situation that I like 90% of the project, and then I would have to vote for that, even though on Elm Street cut-through, I don't agree. And if it's possible, I would like to review this as well, and before, you know, construction starts there. So, you know, for the record, I will support this, but with a note that I do not support the Elm Street portion of this bundled project. Thank you.
Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. So I guess what I'm a little confused about is regarding the Elm Street cut-through portion of it. I remember, although I didn't support it, the majority of this council supported waiving impact fees for the developer. And I thought, it was my understanding that the developer was going to be building the street, and that's why they chose to waive the impact fees. Is that not the case?
So that's a separate project. So if you're on the graphic, if you look at it, the new black asphalt piece that is shown from the intersection of Oxbow and Pleasant Hill going south, the new part of the road. That's what our project is constructing, as it has always been included in the project. The area for the connector further south of Maple Street going down to Sloan Street, that's an existing one-way Elm Street, and a separate project by one of the developer where the city council approved the impact fees for them to build it. They're still working on that piece. So that's a separate project. Our project is separate.
So just so I'm clear, so this portion of the project is just going down to Pleasant Hill, not going to Sloan Street?
True.
Excellent.
This connects Oxbow to Maple Street.
To
Our
Maple Street.
project does that.
Great, thank
yes.
you.
Additional questions, comments from council? Yes, Councilmember Tizer.
Thank you. Mohammed, what is a chance that you could not open that piece of Elm Street until the Highway 9 Oxbow intersection was completed and people became, we were able to now see that it's a working intersection, right, that people can get through. I think a lot of the concern here is we just don't know what happens when you put a working intersection at that corner.
We can try to work with our contractor. I'm not sure the way they have bid it on the project. I don't know what kind of construction sequence were they thinking, but we can always talk to them at the pre-construction meeting to talk about that. It makes sense.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I would strongly encourage not opening that road. You can do whatever you want, build-wise, however that works, but I wouldn't open it until we know how that intersection works.
Sure.
Additional questions, comments from council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve item number 12.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Tizer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for my cue. Item number 13, approval for the purchase of stream credits related to the State Route 9 Atlanta Street at Oxbow Road intersection T-Plus project in an amount not to exceed $53,100.
Good evening. In order to construct the project that you just awarded the contract for, we are required to impact a stream, and a permit from the Army Corps is required. We purchase stream credits through a mitigation banking process. This is a pretty standard process with us. We've done it at least 2 or 3 times since I've been employed here. There is a slight modification to the amount from what we showed you at committee. I do want to bring light to that. We are still needing 1,062 stream credits from the bank. Due to the time frame from which we have previously negotiated with them, they locked in a rate due to our council schedule. They have modified that amount per credit. So in your packets, there has been an increase from $48 per credit to $50 per credit. The 50 times 1062 yields the $53,100 that we are recommending for approval tonight. Graphics on the screen, I'm going to skip through these. This graphic on the screen, the blue lines show you these streams that we are required to impact in order to construct the project. This is aerial view. This is the same map from construction plan view. Any questions?
Does council have any questions for staff? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve item number 13.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Tizer. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously.
Item number 14, approval of blanket right-of-way acquisition services and acceptance of right-of-way options for the mini roundabout project on North Coleman Road at Lake Crest Drive in an amount not to exceed $43,000.
Thank you. So the third item is the North Coleman Mini Roundabout. So on the screen, you could see the graphic on the left. So North Coleman Road, which is a collector street, it connects Pine Grove Road to Woodstock Road. The average daily traffic on North Coleman is over 3,000 vehicles per day, and the posted speed limit is 30 miles an hour, and the 85th percentile speed is 46. This is actually one of the very few roads in the city where the excessive speeding is 15 miles per hour or over the speed limit. So this is a significant speeding problem here. We also have a approval from the City Council for a future traffic signal at Woodstock and North Coleman. We are in the design process for that, and we should construct that early next year. And the design for the mini roundabout, that was also approved, and we are at 85% progress for the design of this money for this mini roundabout. The funds for that were approved earlier this fiscal year. So the project benefits, of course, the main benefit is to mitigate the speeding issues on the North Coleman Street, and improve the intersection for safer turns. And some of the secondary benefits we listed are the crossing for pedestrians, bicycles, and PTVs, and a safer multimodal access to Canton Street. So the area between North Coleman and Lake Charles, there is several subdivisions, and we have gotten several requests in the past couple of years for PTV owners, golf cart owners, to access Canton Street, and they're not able to do that as of today because of the North Coleman Street, which is a higher speed limit, and PTVs are not authorized on that street. So if you approve this project and designate this crossing as a PTV crossing, the golf carts are going to be able to access Canton Street from this area. So the mini roundabout, they are cost-effective intersection improvements for low-volume streets such as North Coleman, and speed mitigation is the big benefit for these mini roundabouts, and it would be a first implementation in the city of Roswell. And we're thinking of it as a test project, and hopefully it's going to be a successful project. Most of the cities around us, they have several implementation of mini roundabouts. So we have several locations in the city where this intersection improvement could be a good implementation. So here's a graphic. North is to the right of the screen, and you see these red lines with red squares. Those are the areas that we need from 5 different parcels, 5 different property owners. And on the next screen, so the total impact, the total right-of-way and permanent or temporary easements that we need from the 5 parcels is a total of 4,115 square feet of easement and 1,365 square feet of right-of-way. So the staff is recommending a blanket approval on all right-of-way services in order to accept all of the signed options and expedite the process. And we have listed some of the previous successful examples where you have approved blanket right-of-way acquisition approval process. We are requesting a total of $43,000, which is based on the appraisals and the fair market value of the land in the area, and plus some small contingency. And funding is available in the pedestrian safety and speed management account. So just to give you a full financial impact of the project, so design as you approved earlier in the fiscal year, in the last fiscal year, the total cost was $90,000. If you approve the right-of-way acquisition phase tonight, that's about $43,000, and the estimated construction cost is going to be about $200,000 to $250,000. That's an estimated number. We do have that in the speed management funding line item already. So there won't be an additional request, but we'll construct the project with the existing speed management program. Any questions?
Councilmember Palermo.
So I think without a doubt, we've got to do speed mitigation here. We absolutely have to do that, and we have to do it ASAP. And also, there's other issues right here at this intersection that we also need to solve and improve. That being said, you know, the mini roundabout, it doesn't sound the most cost-effective thing to me. And I guess where I'm wondering is, technically, it seems to me like there'd be other options there. And I guess my question is, from a safety standpoint, at where North Coleman meets Pine Grove, isn't there a bigger safety issue there that would really be solved with a roundabout or some other solution? How much would that cost, and is that something that's been explored on the North Coleman Pine Grove intersection?
So, like I was saying, that a mini roundabout is a very good solution for low volume, smaller streets, with North Coleman is, but Pine Grove is not that. Any intersection on Pine Grove is going to need a full-blown roundabout. So we'd do something like Grimes Bridge, Norcross, you know, a single-lane roundabout. Cost of that one back in 2010 was a little over $1 million. So it's just a big, and then yes, Pine Grove Road needs improvements. It needs several intersection improvements and pedestrian accommodation, but we're not there yet. This speeding issue on North Coleman and the introduction of the future traffic signal on Woodstock and Coleman, that's gonna maybe increase some of the traffic volume in North Coleman. So I think this would be a good improvement. And if speeding is a big concern, like it is in this case, staff believes that a mini roundabout is a very good. It's not the lowest cost improvement, but when we are talking mitigating speeds, a mini roundabout is amongst the lowest cost-effective solutions.
And can you remind me why it's I believe you've said in the past, it's a transportation best practice to not have three-way stop signs, similar to how we do on Shallowford and Lake Charles. Can you remind me why that's not a potential solution here?
So if stop signs are not warranted, that's a big no-no, because that's where you generate a lot of disrespect for these traffic control devices. So that would not be a recommendation from staff if it's not warranted at any intersection. And we add stop signs all the time. We just added one on Lake Charles, the street next to it, a few months ago. It warranted because of a side distance issue. It could be a side distance issue or a minimal or a combination of traffic volume on the main street and the side street. So in that case, that was not a solution.
Thank you.
Additional questions from council? Yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, like you stated here, you know, in February 11, 2019, most of this council approved $90,000 for this project. And now, on November 12, 2019, come back again for $43,000 more, coming to a total of $133,000 out of $200,000 to $250,000 for this project to mitigate speeding issues and make it safer turns. And I want to remind that at the time, on February 11, 2019, the Roswell Department of Transportation did not bring any other alternative solution to this mayor and council to mitigate those two issues that we're facing here. So they just came with only a runabout solution, and none other solution was presented or option to this mayor and council. So, and I opposed back then for the $90,000, and I will oppose today for the $43,000 additionally to cover the $200,000 to $250,000 of taxpayers' money.
Additional comments, questions from council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Yes, ma'am, please come forward.
Mayor and Council, Sue Sharp, 1160 Crestbrook Lane, resident, 43 years. I thank you and applaud you for putting your time and interest and money behind this project. I would venture to say the reason why the roundabout was the only thing presented back in February, due to the fact that all other considerations have been looked at professionally, not on my part, but on the part of what I was told from the Transportation Department, and all other three-way stop signs, et cetera, had considerations, but they had more negatives than they did positives. So obviously, this was the best solution. One of the things I think that pulled at my heartstrings was that one neighbor told me that his children cannot even cross the street safely to get to the bus stop to wait for the bus. That's how dangerous this road is. So we don't just have a stop sign need, we have a slow it down need. It's gross. The people there get angry if you turn into your neighborhood. They get angry if you try to edge out of your neighborhood. It's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. And I think that not only will it slow down, but we have so many of our neighbors who are walking to Canton Street. That's what we wanted to become, a walkable community. Well, when you can't cross one of the main streets getting there, what are you going to do? You're not going to walk. You're going to get in your car, drive down there, and be frustrated because there is no parking. So I thank you for what you've done so far, and I applaud this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Additional comments, questions from council? Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mayor. I've had a chance the last few days to take a trip down Sargent Road in Alpharetta, where I believe there are two of these mini roundabouts, a similar kind of issue that we have here. I think it's worth the test to see how it works. There's other places in our city where this might actually be a very important thing. And when you put that light up at Woodstock, I think you're right. It's going to make a difference. So with that, I move to approve item number 14.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Tizer. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it's Tizer, Wilsey, Palermo, and Judy in favor. All those opposed? Councilmember Zapata. The motion carries. Mr. Davidson, you're next up.
Thank you. The only item I have is a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel litigation and real estate.
Do I have a recommendation for closure?
Motion for closure.
Motion by Councilmember Judy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. We are adjourned.